3M is one of the biggest companies in the world. And what started out in 1902 as the Minnesota Mining Company would soon transform into one of the largest and most powerful corporations on earth.
3M are up this morning, this on the back of what was a...
3M just reporting, and the company coming in with better than anticipated earnings.
By the late 1960s, 3M would emerge as a world leader in product and chemical manufacturing as they stood on the precipice of a discovery that would completely change the world as we know it. Per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, or PFAS for short, is what 3M called a miracle chemical. It was a miracle because of the incredible properties it had, like being grease resistant, water resistant, and yes, in the case of AFF-F, fire resistant. 3M knew they were onto something big. The only problem, it came with a price. Because forever chemicals, which is what we call them today, don't occur naturally in our environment and they don't break down or decompose. So when you manufacture a product with PFAS, let's say you're making nonstick pans or dental floss or pizza boxes or water-resistant jackets, yes, all of those things have PFAS in them. Those forever chemicals are going to end up somewhere. The big difference between the products I just mentioned and firefighting foam is where they end up after they're used. Take, say, a nonstick pan. It's covered with a type of forever chemical. We know it as Teflon. You buy that pan, you use it for years, and it may just sit in your kitchen in that cupboard and not really do anything. Pizza boxes, dental floss, well, they end up in the trash. But what 3M didn't consider is what they would unleash when AFF-F firefighting foam was let out into the world and where in particular it would end up. By combining the amazing fire extinguishing properties of PFAS chemicals with a foam spray, we now had a way to put out even the most significant flammable liquid fires like those caused with petroleum or jet fuel. And we can thank the US military for what happened next. In 1967, there was a disastrous accident that led to an uncontrolled fire on a naval aircraft carrier, the US S Forestle. And unfortunately, 134 sailors died. And at the time when the US was losing the Vietnam War, the Department of Defense needed a win. Something to solve this new problem caused by fires that contemporary firefighting foams that use organic proteins they couldn't handle. And when word got out that such a lucrative military contract could be available to the company that developed a safe and effective solution, of course, 3M got right to work. And they came out with aqueous film-forming foam, or AFF-F. What they dubbed as a miracle surfactant capable of dousing those extremely flammable petroleum-based liquid fires that had plagued the fire and military personnel for decades. But 3M had a secret. They had actually been testing PFAS chemicals since the 1950s. They knew how good it worked, but they also knew PFAS posed serious health risks through the animal testing that they did and the studies that were performed in their labs. It was a secret that they hid from their employees and the public for decades. But why would a company do that? Greed. Once 3M teamed up with the Department of Defense to bring AFF products to every naval airfield, military base, training facility, and fire station in the entire country for what would be over 50 years, you're talking now about billions upon billions of dollars being made. And that's when stories like this can take an absolute turn for the worse. You see, what happened after all these Air Force bases and fire training centers and military sites got their hands on AFF-F, they started using it anytime they could, in fact, because it works so well. But what about new trainees? You can't just give them this firefighting foam without training them first. And this is where things get really bad. What we know today is that various fire training facilities throughout the country continuously used AFF-F, typically in an outdoor setting, to train their new and existing staff and trainees. But instead of ending up in the trash or some type of contained area, this foam did what foam spray does, especially outdoors. It's going to seep into the ground, which is, of course, where the wells and reservoirs and water systems that provide all of us with drinking water are connected.
Where potentially harmful compounds called PFA'S were found in water supplies. PFA'S are also known as forever chemicals because they don't break down naturally. For decades, they've been staples in everyday products like nonstick cookware, waterproof fabric, and lawsuits highlight firefighting foam.
People at home can take multiple steps to protect themselves. So there's the potential to filter their water or switch to bottled water, limiting the amount of stain repellents or water repellent products that we're using.
And this problem was so bad that a recent study actually showed that approximately half of all the kitchen faucets in America, when tested for PFAS, were contaminated. You bet 3M knew that this was dangerous, but when your stock price is going through the roof, it's easy to look the other way, to knowingly poison the very customers that they built this global empire upon. We know exposure to PFAS has been linked to a variety of serious health conditions, including bladder, kidney, pancreatic, testicular, and liver cancer, as well as fertility problems, high blood pressure, issues in prenatal development, and an increased risk in thyroid disease. Unlike most chemicals, PFAS does not dilute, degrade, or disappear once you ingest it, and it makes its way through your digestive tract and ultimately into your bloodstream, which is where these chemicals will stay for years and years and years. And what this does is cause a disruption of your cell metabolism, your immune function, your hormone levels, and damages your DNA. And this is precisely why cancer has been so strongly linked to this product. So while PFAS might make you a great set of non-stick cookware, it's absolutely awful for the environment and the people, the plants, and the animals that live in it. So what would you think the good folks at 3M would do about all this once it became public? Suppress the information, of course. In the year 2000, as a result of negotiations between the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, and 3M, an important decision was made. 3M would announce publicly that it was gradually discontinuing the use of PFAS in the famed Scotchgard brand products we all know. But 3M would never admit any fault or wrongdoing, even till this day. Because let's face it, it's not white, upper-class America that 3M is screwing over. No. It's, for the most part, poor, low-income, and minority communities. In fact, a Harvard research project at the T.H. Chan School of Public Health found that individuals residing in communities with a higher proportion of Black and Hispanic residents are at a greater risk of exposure to harmful levels of PFAS compared to those living in different areas. And the difference is that low-income people typically live closer to the factories, to the airports, to the military bases, and the water treatment facilities. All the places close enough to put you and your family right in the watershed area of PFAS pollution. And because the cancer caused by PFAS exposure can take years, even decades to develop, you could be drinking this stuff and have absolutely no idea. But there is good news out there. There are some of the most incredible lawyers that are ready to take the fight to 3M and have been doing it now for years, helping tens of thousands of firefighters, military, Navy, and those who got sick or died due to community exposure in their drinking water. Now, given the massive volume of AFF-F-related lawsuits currently in progress in the federal court system, these cases have gotten consolidated into what's known as a multi-district litigation, or MDL. The MDL process is overseen by one judge who presides over these matters in the United States Federal Court for the District of South Carolina. The primary objective behind creating an MDL is to streamline the handling of the discovery process, which is where each side gets a hold of all the evidence that they need to either prove or defend the case. But when you have something like 100,000 litigants, the MDL court is so important to simplify the process, to have everyone, for the most part, on the same page, and to have pretrial proceedings that are more efficient for all the parties involved. And no, this is not a class action lawsuit, which is a mistake I hear often. In a class action lawsuit, all the claimants typically assert identical or highly similar injuries resulting from the same source. But in this case, the AFF-F firefighting foam lawsuits encompass such a diverse range of cases involving different types of cancers, medical issues, and the type of exposure that these individuals had to AFF-F. So at this point of the video, I have some good news, but I also have some bad news.
Taking a look at 3M, it struck a tentative settlement of at least $10 billion over Forever Chemicals.
Yes,
the market
the Forever.
seems to be cheering this decision, so tell us more about it.
The market is cheering this decision.
The good news is that the first part of the AFF-F lawsuit has actually been resolved for $10.3 billion between 3M and the states and municipalities throughout the country that 3M would have to reimburse for the cost of cleanup to get the PFAS out of the water system so it's safe. The bad news is that the next part of these cases could finish right around the corner. And there's still people out there that have gotten really sick or a family member died, and they either are unaware of these cases or the connection to their illness. And if you're new here, welcome to my channel. I really appreciate the time watching. And if you got value out of this video, I want to thank you, but I want to ask you for a favor. To like, comment, and share this video as much as you possibly can to get the word out so that people get educated about what 3M has done and hopefully to save someone's life in the process. All right, so thanks for watching, and please make sure to subscribe to my channel so I can keep making these videos on such important topics that affect us all.